For us today was not to drop deep and just try and soak up all their pressure on that.
And the plan worked, and we're going to look at how exactly Stellenbosch were able to knock out Mamelodi Sundowns from the MTN 8 semi-finals. Starting with Sundowns in build-up, and it was a situation where they were trying to invite the press by, hey, who's that? Marcelo Allende, having him in build-up. The purpose of this is to obviously invite the press from Stellenbosch. They wanted Abot de Jong to be there so that then they can play the ball wide. And look at how many Stellenbosch players are already out of the game by doing that. They did not want to do this with their defenders because, well, Marcelo Allende is more comfortable on the ball. So they tried to do that. However, Stellenbosch, they know that when they press, Sundowns is likely going to do that. So they're aggressive in how they try and recover the ball. So they ended up just forcing Sundowns to go long in any case. And this time around, Sundowns did not play the 2-3-5, well, at least not from the beginning, but instead they were playing something of a 2-4-1-3, and we'll explain later on why this is. So if you look at this name, Sundowns have two defenders in build-up, and then they have Allende and Mukwena in the middle, and then the right back and the left back, Umashego no Sailor. Why are they doing this? They are trying to have width, like in their, in their build-up phase, because in the last game they tried to push the fullbacks high way too early, and what ended up happening is Stellenbosch were winning those balls. So what they are trying to do now is stretch Stellenbosch in their early press so that they can create that space in the middle, and later on you will see how this actually also works in trying to make Stellenbosch be out of shape. But in this case, once again, what you end up finding yourself with is Allende going to that space to collect the ball, and other players just can't come into the game because whenever Stellenbosch is slightly out of shape, everyone somehow just recovers because they know what will happen if they don't win the ball back, and they're well drilled that, okay, we lose the ball, even the defender can step up, then if it's out of position, the defensive midfielder can cover them. And Sundowns kept on doing this thing of this 2-4-1-3, generating space in the middle, as you can see. But then Tembazwane did not have a good game, but also it might have to do with this thing because it feels like he was told that you must stay as a single player there in front of the defense. But there are two things to note here, is that Unduli was sitting with him the whole time. But also I'm thinking, why did Mshishi not step into that space, right, to try and be available and drawing out Unduli and creating more space? So you have this situation again where Sundowns are now trying to play the ball again. There's that space, and there's no Mamelodi Sundowns player who's trying to pull players into that space and perhaps win the ball. So what ends up happening then is Sundowns end up being forced to just go direct because they were not winning. So they were just like, let's just go long. But guess what? Stellenbosch wanted that, and when it happened, they won the ball back all the time, and I mean all the time, and they were in attack. Now, if you're enjoying the video, please do make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. What I do not understand though is, what was the plan with Umshishi? Where was he supposed to be? Because you see, we're in this shape once again, and Umshishi there's an arrow there that's pointing at him, and Unduli, like in the previous frame, he's with him, like he's staying with him, he's not letting him go. But I'm wondering, couldn't he have moved more, or was he told that he should occupy that space? Because the other thing with that front line is that they are in a way inverted. They're not like wide wingers. And because of that, Mshishi being right in front of them, the Stellenbosch defense wasn't stretched really, because they're also not worried about fullbacks. Because if you see the positioning of Umfana Gazanalo on the bottom of your screen and top of your screen, as much as those people of Stellenbosch are marking the midfielders, but they're also trying to stop the passes wide. So then that means the only thing that Umshishi could do is drop into that space. In that way, he forces one player of Stellenbosch to follow him or to focus on him. but it just wasn't happening for Sundowns. I don't know whether it's the new system or whatnot. So we ended up just seeing a lot of Allende trying to play these balls, and it wasn't happening. And Stellenbosch were winning the ball right back. And since this was happening and they were losing the ball a lot near their box, they were forced to go long. And what that did is make Terence Mashego pull his hamstring, and he was gone. He was out of the game. And Sundowns were now starting to just be desperate. Go long. We know Sundowns likes to keep the ball, but Stellenbosch were so aggressive in the press that in the 33rd minute, they had been tired. But now, then this thing happens. They take Umtao, they try to make him invert, and then they try to push Uripero wide. And on the other hand, far right, well, depends, on the top of your screen, Uletlako was now playing in that position. So this sort of kind of almost worked because they were playing those passes. Umtao, sometimes he would still be wide, and then Rivero would invert. The idea being, now we are trying to push Umtao to be wide and stretch them, and also Letlako that side was also kind of facing the defender 1v1, and it was creating chances for Sundowns. And you can see here once again, they're now like, hey, it seems like it works if we play the ball to Letlako. So they're playing the ball to Letlako again, and also pushing up their left back, in this case Besego Modiba, pushing Modiba as well to try and go and overload that side, which by the way they stopped doing for some reason. So since the midfield, the back line was stretched at that point, they were now finding some spaces. And came second half, they brought on Ukodisang to try and stretch the field. And they are back to the 2-3-5 now, having the winger and the full back on one side. On the other side, it was Thapelo Mrena trying to stretch the center backs. I mean the back line, and on top of that, open some space in the middle. But Stellies were still not budging. And since they had this 2-3-5 thing, now they could afford to basically make those long diagonal switches. Remember, towards the end of the first half, they're already starting with the switches. And when they came back second half, they were like, okay, let's just push Mrena up. Let's have Kodisang on the left, stretch them, play diagonals to them. And to a degree, it was kind of working. Except that Stellenbosch at this time were also realizing that, hey, we're 2-0 up, and they were now falling back. And as you can see, Umtao once again is the other guy. Umrena is the one who's wide. You have Kodisang on the left. And what I will say about Kodisang being in this position is the fact that he was doing much better than having a fullback in that position, because fullbacks, their thing is they're trying to cross the ball when they're in that position. But now he could hold on to the ball more, try and dribble. My problem, though, is why is Modiba not running outside of him to try and receive the ball? Because now he has limited options and he has to go back. And in that situation, the move is dead, because Sundowns are not going to do anything from that position. But this constant playing of the ball to the side was a good sign for Sundowns. But it was a bit too late, because now Stellenbosch were just sitting back. Now, when we talk about Sundowns defending, there wasn't much to defend, and I will show you what happened. But early on in the game, Stellenbosch were just trying to end them. And they were doing this by not just trying to kick the ball forward. They were committing numbers forward here, even when they were pressing. They were just pressing, as you heard at the beginning of the video. They were pressing and not trying to sit back. And when they were going forward, they were just committing numbers, and Sundowns struggled a bit. But since they have quality defenders, they were able to withstand this barrage early on in the game. Because look at the sheer numbers of Stellenbosch players that were just being pushed. So Sundowns also tried to press with the 4-1-4-1 when they're out of position, but it wasn't much of a press really, because Stellenbosch did not want or care much about position, right? They were just trying to I will show you a clip in a second. But in Sundowns defending, right? I've messed this whole thing up. I'm talking about Sundowns defense now. So Sundowns defending was shambles at times, because how is this guy jumping? I'm even zooming him in, showing that there's no one around him. He's jumping in. February is forced to a save, but if you look at it, you're like, how is he getting so much space? Right? It doesn't make any sense in the box. So here we have Sundowns once again playing the ball. And I said they were now pushing their midfielders upwards. This has to do with defense, their full backs rather. So when they pushed their full backs, they had a new problem now, because Stellenbosch would win the ball in midfield and just counter. And this is them attacking. This is the goal, because they'd committed people forward because they were now trying to score, and Sundowns was struggling to then recover from the back. But for the life of me, yes, Umjela might have been offside, but still Sundowns didn't score. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Stellenbosch were trying to just kick the ball forward because they wanted to play on transition. And as you saw, the goal they scored was from transitional moment. But most of the times, they were just kicking the ball forward. And to show that Stellenbosch were not scared of Sundowns in this game, it's the 79th minute. You are leading 2-0 and you bring on a midfielder and a striker. It just makes me question, should other teams be really this scared of Sundowns, or should they try to actually go out and attack them? Because you see that when someone is attacking them, when someone is pressing them, they struggle. This goes for all big teams actually, not just Sundowns. Seen teams play against the so-called bigger teams, but they just show no fear. They end up getting something out of the game. Maybe if the other teams in the league did the same thing, maybe our league would be more entertaining. But what did you think of the game? Do let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. And remember to like and subscribe.